Right now on the National Weather Desk, another night of deadly storms in the nation's midsection. The risk is on the rise today for another round of strong to severe weather, while communities devastated by tornadoes last weekend look to the future.
If you live in Oklahoma, everyone has that tornado story.
How long will it take for mountain snow out west to melt?
We lose about 5.5 degrees Fahrenheit for every 1,000 feet in elevation.
Climate change is hurting your wallet as insurance rates skyrocket.
All of the house values have gone up. All the labor costs have gone up. All the materials have gone up.
A closer look at weather's role in baseball games.
Warm, humid air, Nico, is really great for your baseball game.
And the bear that helped himself to breakfast in a mountain cabin.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Steve Rudin from WJLA in Washington, D.C. One person is dead after a tornado ripped through northeastern Kansas yesterday. It happened in the small city of Westmoreland. Population a little over 700. Officials say the twister destroyed 22 homes and 3 RVs. At one point last night, the entire city was without power. The same storm system produced half-dollar-size hail in Sedgwick, about 140 miles to the south. The thunderstorm had 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and damaged roofs and trees in the area. In Oklahoma, a possible tornado hit the town of Cordell just 6 hours or just before 6 p.m. local time last night. That's about 100 miles west of Oklahoma City. The storm left several homes and buildings damaged, leaving power lines and trees down. Schools will be closed today because of the storm damage. And the threat for another round of strong to severe storms continues today. The Storm Prediction Center has posted a level 3 out of 5 risk for the areas you see shaded in orange. It includes Abilene and San Angelo, Texas, as well as Hutchinson, Kansas. Nearly 13 million people live in the yellow area, which faces a slight risk today. That includes Dallas, Oklahoma City, and Wichita. Large hail, damaging winds, and tornadoes are possible this afternoon and evening. Be sure to stay weather alert for the latest watches and warnings. Meantime, survivors continue to assess the damage following last weekend's destructive tornadoes. One of the hardest hit communities, Holdenville, Oklahoma. An 86-year-old woman who just moved back into a home that was damaged in a storm last year is once again facing the same. Brianna Rose has the story.
The winds were so strong, nearly the entire roof was ripped off of Judy Kesey's home as family frantically called to warn the 86-year-old to take cover.
So he got on the phone with her and told her to get down, it's coming, and boom, it hit and it went silent when we were on the phone.
The only part of the roof left untouched is exactly where Stephanie Kesey says her aunt hid.
If you live in Oklahoma, everyone has that tornado story.
Kesey is incredibly grateful that all of her family members survived. Their focus now is on picking up the pieces.
You know, we've all grown up in that house. It's been in our family for 100 years. Every relic, every memento, everything that when I was a little kid was so neat to look at that I couldn't touch was just shattered and scattered everywhere.
It's a process they only just went through in September following a suspected tornado. The 86-year-old had just moved back in last week.
You know, her stove hadn't been installed yet. Her carpet hadn't been installed yet.
Sulphur, Oklahoma is about 60 miles from Holdenville. The town sustained extreme damage from the tornado outbreak, and the pictures show just how bad it is. On the right, what the town looked like before the storm. The left, what it looks like right now. The tornado flattened entire communities. The governor said the town suffered the most damage since he's seen since being elected in 2019. One of the strongest tornadoes in the outbreak touched down in Marietta, Oklahoma. The National Weather Service rated it a very powerful EF4 with winds to 170 miles per hour. A ranch handler ventured out to save his horses. Jamison Kiefover has more.
Orrin Welsh feeds and cares for the horses at Polo Ranch in Marietta. The blaring of the tornado siren Saturday night sent him and the ranch's owner searching for their 10 horses. They got all but 2 inside and then found them the next morning.
Seeing the 2 horses laying there, we had 2 colts on the other side of where the fillies were at. Storm didn't hurt them, but it killed the 2 fillies.
They quickly buried the horses and started to assess the rest of the damage. Products and sheet metal from the Dollar Tree warehouse and Homeland are scattered through their pasture.
Now, look like a city landfill just dropped right on you.
The buildings and the house on the property were saved from the storm, but the homes around them are destroyed. The horses they lost cost upwards of $50,000, along with the rest of the damage.
NOAA's Climate Prediction Center released its May temperature outlook yesterday. Meteorologist Peter Hall breaks it down and shows us what areas can expect above average warmth for the month.
NOAA has put out their updated monthly outlook for temperatures and precipitation. Behind me, you may notice we already have those temperatures up, and NOAA is saying there's a better than even chance of seeing above average temperatures, especially for the Northeast, the Deep South, parts of Texas and Florida. Note the reds with the best chances of above average temperatures and equal chances and near normal temperatures, basically, for the rest of the country. In terms of precipitation, most of us have equal chances of above or below, but note an above average potential for precipitation across the middle of the country, also below average in New Mexico, West Texas, and Florida. That actually is also where above average temperatures are likely to occur, so extra potential for the drought to get worse in sections of West Texas and New Mexico because they already have some tough drought conditions there. That's the monthly outlook for the month of May. We're going to keep you posted across the country, day by day and hour by hour.
There are several fog advisories this morning, especially in the east and along the Gulf Coast. This time lapse comes from Rochester and western New York. Visibility is near zero. In Chattanooga, Tennessee, meteorologist David Glenn posted this on Facebook. It shows just how quickly visibility can drop during a dense fog advisory. The National Weather Service typically posts these advisories when visibility drops to 1/4 of a mile or less. A fog bow formed in Arkansas yesterday. Meteorologist Barry Brandt has more on the rainbow's cousin.
All right, kind of an interesting phenomenon in Arkansas this morning, a fog bow. Yeah, you may or may not have seen one of those. It kind of looks like a rainbow, right? But without all the brilliant colors. Well, there's a reason for that. As the fog was lifting and dissipating, still some fog droplets in the air, and it does form like a rainbow with the sun reflecting off of those droplets, but the droplets are much smaller than raindrops in a rainbow. So those droplets are so much smaller, they don't do a good job bending and refracting out from the sunlight the 7 different colors of the rainbow. So all you really see is just white, and it kind of looks like a little bit of a smudge. It's certainly unique, but it's kind of the less interesting cousin to a rainbow.
A new invasive species has arrived in the Cincinnati area. Damage caused by the box tree moth has brought new restrictions on boxwood shrubs and a quarantine for 6 counties in southwest Ohio. David Winter has more.
This is what a box tree moth looks like, as a moth and as a caterpillar. And this is the kind of damage that it can do, eating away at the leaves of boxwoods specifically. It's what caused the Ohio Department of Agriculture to quarantine boxwoods for most of southwest Ohio, which basically means you may not transport the plants outside of the area.
Where did it come from? How did it get here?
Well, it's native to Asia. How it got here, I don't think we know for sure, but it is specific to boxwood plants. So it likely hitchhiked on the movement of plants over time.
The Department of Agriculture's Dan Kenny says this is not a warning that should be taken lightly.
Ohio is the 3rd largest producer of boxwood shrubs in the country. So it's a big industry.
BZAC Garden and Landscaping Sarah Newcomb says you need to know what you've got so you can apply the right treatment.
They actually eat the leaves. And by seeing that they eat the leaves, the leaf actually gets a little iridescent and almost see-through.
And there are plenty of products from which to choose, so you don't need to throw out your boxwoods with the bathwater.
Feeding them, watering them, treating them if you see any symptoms, because you can definitely save those boxwoods and keep them for many years to come.
And check this out. A bear was caught on camera helping itself to breakfast inside a cabin near Mammoth Lakes, California. The cabin is under renovation, and the crew said they left the door open when unloading materials from their truck. The bear was apparently eating Honey Nut Cheerios. Guess he disappeared into the forest looking for Lucky Charms. Coming up on the National Weather Desk, understanding the most common type of flooding and the danger it brings.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. Check out this wide range in temperatures expected in the Northeast for highs today. There'll be parts of New England that will have a hard time getting out of the low 50s. Parts of New York should warm into the middle 70s. There, skies will be brightest. Last night's rain has made its way off to the east. We have mainly cloudy skies for a good chunk of New England, but notice where skies are brighter, we will have warmer temperatures, of course. The next round of wet weather should be confined through parts of New England for a Thursday. Will be brightest again and warmest in New York.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region, starting out with some clouds for your Wednesday morning, but the afternoon should feature more sunshine. And as we head throughout Thursday, also similar conditions. No more rain expected, not until we get closer to the weekend. Temperatures will be cooler today, only in the upper 70s to low 80s. We'll see similar temperatures on Thursday, perhaps just a few degrees warmer. Highs should only reach the low to mid 80s throughout much of the area. Downtown Baltimore could be a few degrees warmer.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Here's a look at your highs for this afternoon. Most of us are going to be in the 80s, some of us even getting into the upper 80s. Tallahassee, Tampa, Orlando, Jackson, Mississippi. Myrtle Beach will be exempt from that. They'll be in the mid 70s. So look at your hour by hour forecast throughout the day. We'll see storms develop along the sea breeze boundary, both in Florida and along the Carolinas and Georgia coastline. A few of those lightning strikes here and there, but then we clear up for Thursday.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Snapshots of ominous clouds from Arkansas Monday evening. These shelf clouds moving over west Little Rock and in southwest Arkansas, fiery mammatus clouds at sunset. In Missoula, Montana, more of a winter scene in spring with falling snow along this trail and a heavy graupel shower that moved through the west side of town Tuesday.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
In California, temperatures are heating up, although Lassen Peak in the northern part of the state is still covered with snow. So how long will it take for all that snow to melt? Preston Dunyan has more.
It's a beautiful day in the Sacramento Valley with temperatures climbing into the mid-70s in places like Redding, Red Bluff, and Chico. But when we look towards the Lassen National Park and the beautiful snow-capped peaks, you might start to wonder as we ride into May, how long does it take before we see that snow melt? Well, on a beautiful blue sky day like today with a dry atmosphere, the general rule of thumb is we lose about 5.5 degrees Fahrenheit for every 1,000 feet in elevation that we increase. So if it's 75 degrees here in Redding, up on the mountain at the top, about 10,500 feet, you're still in the 20s in terms of that afternoon high. About 7,000 feet near the visitor center of the base, those afternoon temperatures will climb into the upper 30s, maybe 36, 37 degrees if we're following things exactly. And that means that snow out there, while it is still very thick in coverage, will melt fairly quickly because every day provides a chance to see some melting.
Snowmelt can sometimes lead to flooding. There are actually many different types of flood risks and alerts with very different impacts. Meteorologist Thomas Battle explains.
There are several ways flooding can happen. The most common is from prolonged rain over several days or when there is a lot of rain in a short time. River flooding is a slower moving event that happens after a heavy rain, after a snowmelt, or tropical system passes through. With river flooding, we often have enough time to call for evacuations and shut down roads. When we see a tremendous amount of rainfall in a brief time, it can cause flash flooding. In either scenario, the roads can fill with water and turn dangerous. However, many times flooding is overlooked by drivers.
Did you know that 6 inches of rapidly moving water can knock a person right off their feet? What about 12 inches? Well, at this height, most small cars will actually float and be carried away. And then at 2 feet, let's take it even further, SUVs and trucks can also be swept away at that height. That's when you see flooding, you should turn around and find another route. Flooding is the most common and costly natural disaster in the U.S., and a warming climate means we will see it more often. A warmer atmosphere also means the air can hold more water and bring flash flooding anywhere. So when the rain starts to fall, here's how warnings are decided. The National Weather Service issues flood warnings when potentially damaging river levels are expected. However, if life or property is at threat, they will issue a flash flood warning.
In Illinois, excessive April rainfall may be bad news for farmers. Too much rain in a short period of time can damage crops. Sarah Lighthouser has more.
Typically, the planting season begins the 1st of April, but it varies every year. This year, many farmers have already planted corn, but many farmers held off on planting soybeans due to the weather forecast. There are some concerns with the amount of rain that has fallen in the past week.
Crops that are in the ground. If they did not get a good sprout and above the ground, there's a good probability that they may rot in the ground and they have to be replanted.
Claire told KHQA that some of the corn he recently planted, he will probably have to replant. While his fields didn't flood, the same can't be said for other farmers' fields closer to the creeks. With more rain possible, it is looking like farmers may have to wait for things to dry out as we head into May.
It's been a long time since we've had a really wet spring, and we've been spoiled over the last few years where we're able to get our crops in early. This year it's not going to be the case. It's going to be where we're going to be in the middle of May before we can even consider having everything in, maybe even later than that.
With all of the rain, hydrologist Mark Fuchs with the National Weather Service in St. Louis says that if farmers haven't planted yet, it may be harder for them to plant as we are heading into a wetter pattern.
As our climate continues to change, flooding will get worse. It's already costing homeowners more money because home insurance prices have skyrocketed. Lee Stoll reports.
Weather pattern changes are now affecting nearly every corner of the country, with people facing more severe hurricanes, flooding, and wildfires. According to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, there were 28 weather and climate disasters in 2023, each costing at least $1 billion in losses.
And the trends go to the extremes. All the financial modeling that the insurance companies base their rates on is disrupted.
According to Bankrate, some home insurance premiums have jumped as much as 23% from just last year.
All of the house values have gone up. All the labor costs have gone up. All the materials have gone up.
That means it's now more expensive to repair any damages and rebuild to meet new building codes. Analysts say labor costs alone are up 12% in just the last 4 years. According to Bankrate, the national average is $2,151 to insure a property worth $300,000. But rates are expected to rise another 6% by the end of this year. Some tips to knock that bill down: raising your deductible could lower your premium bill possibly by 15, even 20%. Bundle your home and auto insurance and shop around for the best rates.
We have talked about how weather can impact our daily commute, our wallet, and even our food. It can also impact America's pastime. Meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell looks at weather's role in baseball.
It is baseball season. We're heading deep into the spring. But did you know your baseball game is probably going to be even better if you keep playing into summer? It's not just because you've been practicing more. It's actually because the weather is going to help you out as well. Because warming air, and we do warm around here, at least most of the time as we head into the summer, warming air is expanding air. And if you take an air mass and expand it, all of the bits and pieces in it, all of the air molecules have more room to move around. So therefore, the baseball is able to move through that air mass a little bit easier too. We're not known for our summer humidity here in the Pacific Northwest, but almost the rest of the entire country is east of the Rockies. And so you pair up that warm air with humidity, and again, it is going to result in less friction on that ball. Kind of goes against your intuition. It seems like if you add some moisture to the air, it would slow it down. But water molecules are actually really nice and light. And when you fill the air mass up with a little bit of humidity, it replaces some of those heavier, bigger molecules that would otherwise be there. So again, less air friction on the ball. It will enable it to travel farther, hopefully all the way into the outfield, maybe into the cheering stands, so that you get a big old home run. Warm, humid air, Nico, is really great for your baseball game.
Time for a short break, but first we soar above Montana's Lolo Pass.
Well, a very good Wednesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. As we go through your day today, we're going to see temperatures pretty warm across most of the Midwest here. We got 80s, 70s, and some 60s to the north, with some strong thunderstorms out across the plains once again today, into the day tomorrow. We're also seeing some flooding issues along some of the rivers, so keep that in mind. As we continue on into your Friday, this rain continues to shift its way more towards the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes, and cooling down just a little bit behind the rain.
Good Wednesday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, and on the lookout for a few strong to severe storms. Texas, Oklahoma, wind gusts, hail, maybe a tornado or two, especially in that slight risk as we work through the afternoon into the evening. Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, Abilene, Dallas, maybe even a storm or two around San Antonio to Austin. We step into Thursday's forecast, and still a few showers or a thunderstorm possible. And notice the temperatures in the 70s and 80s, and quite humid Thursday afternoon.
Well, hi there and happy May Day to you, everybody. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, if you're heading out with a basket of flowers or goodies for your neighbors, you'll find yourself in 60s around Reno, but 90s and some heat there in Phoenix today. Look at the contrast in Jackson Hole at 38 because of this disturbance pushing down over the Rockies. That will bring some snow to the Bitterroots and some gusty winds on its way into the deserts of Southern California. And that's the scene from here.
The National Weather Desk.
Today is May Day. Meteorologist Christina Ernie explains the day's connection to weather.
May Day, May Day! Today is May 1st. It is May Day. This holiday for some actually relates to weather. Actually, going back to the Roman Empire, it was a holiday to celebrate the middle point between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. And then starting in the Middle Ages, actually until current day, a lot of people dance around what's called a maypole to celebrate new growth. And a number of cultures celebrate the day with flowers, like Hawaii. They actually call it Lei Day and celebrate by wearing laser flowers. So May Day means something different for everyone, but there's 4 really important ways it relates to weather. Number 1, it's potentially the most volatile month for most, with wild temperature swings. Number 2, snow, unlikely for most, but is not unheard of. Number 3, it's the most tornadic month of the year. That's right, the average number of tornadoes in May is 278. Finally, May marks that hurricane season is near, starting June 1st.
Thank you so much for looking in this morning. I'm glad you were able to join me. I'm meteorologist Steve Rudin from WJLA in Washington, D.C. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Good day.